Okay, drained off the quart of oil that was excess. I've got the oil level about halfway up between the low and the full mark on the dipstick, and if I get it running after a couple minutes, I'll shut it down and recheck the oil level, so that once the top end's lubricated, that level's going to drop some more. Right now I want to rotate the engine over to top dead center for cylinder number 1 so that I can determine my spark plugs, which ones are which, because I took them all off and didn't number them, so I want to see which one's number 1, and from there I'll be able to determine the firing order. I said firing order. I know the firing order. I mean the order of the plug wires. So if I look down there, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there is a little pointer, and it's a little triangle piece of metal right there in the middle of the screen, and that points to the pulley, and there are marks on that pulley that I'm going to rotate the engine slowly with my monkey wrench on that front PTO shaft, and that will get it to TDC. Alright, I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see it, but the pointer is actually just below the first mark that I see on the pulley, and then there's a space, and then another mark, and then another space, and then a third mark, then there's a large space, and there's a fourth mark way down below. So basically you get like 3 marks, large space, mark. So if we look at this diagram, you'll see that there is a mark that stands alone, and then 3 that are close together. The mark that stands alone is top dead center, and then the 3 that are close together are your 16-degree advance, your 22-degree advance, and your 30-degree advance. Now this actually looks like it's backwards, but if you notice, the pointer on this one is pointing that way, and in reality our engine, this would be the engine block, so it's really kind of like this is what we're looking at. So that's why I've got the 3 marks. So right now I'm sitting in between these 2. So if I keep moving and bring up that one that stands alone to the pointer, I'll be at TDC. But I'm really not concerned about that right now, because this would have been like if I wanted to know where number 1 cylinder was TDC for the valve clearance adjustment. But what I'm concerned about is just where the distributor's at right now, the rotor in particular. I also want to note that there was more than one version of pulley apparently. This one tells you the series 300U, 350, 300 and 350 with 3 notches, and then down here there's the one with the 4 notches. The one with the 3 notches was used, apparently indicates the symbol J distributors on distillate or kerosene burning engines. So this is not us. Or the O or S distributors on gasoline burning engines. 3rd notch indicates top dead center for all distributors. That is also not us. We're down here. We've got 4 notches for the 300, 300U, 350, 350U. And the 1st notch indicates 30 degrees advance, used with symbol J distributors on distillate or kerosene burning engines. 2nd notch indicates 22-degree advance and is used with symbol O or S distributors on gasoline engines. And the 3rd notch is 16-degree advance and is used with symbol T distributors on LP gas burning engines. So looks like we can assume we want the 22-degree advance mark. So if I go back to that diagram, the 22 is actually the one in the middle here. So instead of going to this mark here, if I just go to that mark in the middle, that should be where my position of my distributor should be, pointing right at the number 1 spark plug. Okay, so there I am. I'm on that middle of the 3 marks that are close together. That's my 22-degree advance for this gasoline engine. And so now I'm going to take the, I'm going to pop the clips here and take the cap off the distributor. Alright, the rotor is clearly pointing right up here to about 2 o'clock, which would be this wire right here. So I now know that this is number 1. Alright, now I'm going to bump the starter and verify which way the distributor turns when the engine's running. And the distributor turns clockwise. So even though the crankshaft is going counterclockwise from where I'm standing, the distributor goes clockwise. So that means the next cylinder to fire will, or the next plug wire to fire will be this plug wire right here. Now I know, because of the firing order, the next cylinder to fire after number 1 is number 3. So since this wire fires next, I want this wire on number 3. Alright, now I know, because the way that it's turning clockwise, that the next wire to fire will be this one. So this wire will fire next, and I know the next one in the firing order is number 4. So I want this one to go to number 4. Okay. And last in the firing order is number 2. Process of elimination, since I only got one left. It's only got one place to go. And that's going to be on number 2. Okay, now I'm going to put that valve cover back on. How do you like them apples? The fitting that threads into here, that the fuel line attaches to on the carburetor, is missing. I would have thought, I don't remember taking it out, but I must have. I would have thought it would have been on the fuel line. That's sitting right here, and it's not on that. It's not in what I have left for hardware. So where is it? I mean, I think this is the whole fuel line. It's weird because there was this, where the heck is it? There's this hunk of fuel line right here that was hanging on the front bucket thing. I don't know where the hell that came from. Oh, bummer. Can't believe I even brought fuel with me today and my little auxiliary gas tank so I could avoid having to use the big fuel tank. I was all set to try and start this puppy. So the only thing that's keeping me from starting this engine, theoretically speaking, is this fitting. I looked in the bed of the truck, and lo and behold, now I remember, it had this metal line coming out of it. This screwed into the carburetor, and then the rubber line was just stuck over this and clamped on. Well, it's always something. So I got that, and now my problem is, I thought I brought my auxiliary fuel tank with me. It's just a small tank I took off of an old lawnmower a long time ago. It's plastic, it's nice and portable, and I use it when I'm running things like this for the first time. I can just tip the tank and it shuts off the fuel flow, and I don't have a ton of fuel in there in case I want to drain the system because I gotta, clean carbs or whatever. And I don't have to worry about any crud that might be in the bottom of this tank causing me problems, or deteriorating fuel line causing me trouble. So I'm not going to run it without that tank. And it's already 4:30 anyways, and my son's got a Little League game tonight, so I got to get going. I think the last thing I'll do before I quit today, though, is I'll top off the coolant. I'll do a 50-50 mix of antifreeze and water. Well, I just hooked up my temporary tank here and filled it up, and gas started pouring out of the carburetor, so I've got float issues. I should have known. Just for the heck of it, though, close the choke, see if I can't get the start off the fuel in the bowl. Left the key on when I was here the other day, killed the battery. Damn it. Alright, I decided to remove the fuel line so I could get to this bolt on the back of the bowl, and the other ones I was able to get to a lot easier than taking the carburetor back off. So I just took the bowl off. Wasn't too much debris in the bottom of it, cleaned it out, and when I took the bowl off, the float drops all the way down like this, and that lets the float needle fall right out. So it was in the bottom of the bowl, and it's nice and clean. The seat looks good. So what I did was I noticed that when I put the float up to the full close position, it was up like this. So I rebent the float so that now it closes when it's horizontal, which is what I believe would be the close to the proper float height adjustment. And that's just a matter of bending, slightly bending the arms that hold the ladders onto the float arm. So now the trick is going to be, I've got to get this float needle in. If I had the carburetor off, I would just invert the carburetor upside down, drop the float needle in, put the bowl on. But because I don't want to try, I want to try and do it without taking the carburetor off. I'm going to try and see if I can get this to stay in there and get the bowl up. Well, I was able to get it on without the needle falling back out, and I was going to hook the fuel line up, but then I just looked at the clock and realized, well, once again, little leak beckons. I've got to bring him to practice today, so I got to get going.